Well, good evening and Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year to you.
So we'll just get right to it so that our guests will be able to give the brief presentation. So Becky, would you please call the roll?
Sure, we've got Michael,
Here.
Cherise,
Here.
Jane,
Here.
Beth,
Here.
Dan,
Here.
Gloria,
Here.
and we're missing Lupe, Barb, and Mark.
Okay, great. And then next, are there any additions, corrections, modifications of the agenda? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. We have an agenda. Is there any public comment? Okay, well, let's move right into it. We've got a presentation today for the library annual financial report for FY22. And we have, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. And am I on a big projector? I wasn't sure if I should share my screen with you. Perfect. Sounds good. My name is Brad Porter. I'm here on behalf of Lauterbach and Amon as the audit principal that happens to oversee the library and city financial statement audit processes. It's great to have the chance to remote in here this evening and share the results of our audit with you. Before I go any further, I wanted to give a special thank you to Becky and Celeste for all of their efforts over the course of the year. I know changing auditors is never an easy task, and let me tell you, we had a great experience working with them. They do a tremendous job in terms of making sure that there are safeguards in place over library assets, and all in all, it could not have been a better first year audit process. So greatly appreciate your efforts, especially in the first year where we know it's only going to get easier from there. So thank you very much. Now at this point I will, it looks like it says the host disabled screen sharing. If you wouldn't mind maybe make me the host temporarily.
Of course.
Thank you.
Options here.
Perfect.
Participants. Make host. There you go.
Perfect. Yep, that worked. All right, can everybody see our letterhead in the upper left-hand corner here? Would you like me to zoom in a little bit?
Yes, please.
Sounds good. I know how difficult that can be to read. A lot of words in these audits, I tell you. There are 3 pieces of required communication that I'd like to just briefly discuss here this evening. The first of which is what we call our SAS 114 letter, which is the first letter that I have pulled up here. This is a 2-page document, and we are required under SAS 114 to state whether or not we had any disagreements or difficulties that we had encountered with management in performing our audit procedures. I'm happy to report that in this 2-page letter, I've highlighted a couple of items here. We've encountered no significant difficulties, and we are pleased to report no such disagreements throughout the course of our audit, as you would expect. Now, there are 2 bound documents that you would have received in paper format, and the first of which is our annual financial report, or more commonly known as your audit document. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to spend too much time on this here this evening, but obviously if you have any questions that arise, I'm more than happy to spend some time going through the specifics with you. But I did want to highlight a couple of intangibles throughout your audit document. The first of which is on page 1, and this is what we call our independent auditor's report. This is hands down the most important page within your audit document. I'm going to go a little bit backwards here because it kind of follows the flow of my discussion. It starts with your responsibility as management, and that is to ensure that we're provided a clean set of financial statements to work off of, which I've highlighted here. It then goes into our responsibility as your audit firm, and that is to obtain reasonable assurance in order to generate an opinion on the financial statements that are provided to us. So going back to our opinions paragraph here, we've issued what is known as an unmodified opinion for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022. An unmodified opinion is the cleanest form of opinion that any governmental entity can receive, so congratulations. What an unmodified opinion ultimately states is that as your auditors, we believe the financial statements to be presented fairly and that there are sound internal controls in place over the financial reporting function. So if you're going to take away anything from my presentation here this evening, it's that piece of good news. Now, as I had pointed out, I know the audit document has a lot of numbers, words, so I wanted to point out a section that we call our management's discussion and analysis, which begins on page 3. This is going to really break things down into narrative format. It's going to have a lot of comparative charts and graphs, financial highlights, things that are much easier to understand than the financial statements themselves. So I would absolutely encourage you as a board to spend most of your time and energy on this, what we call our MD&A for short. Now, a couple of quick financial highlights for fiscal year 2022. Our overall net position as a library on the government-wide level had increased by 3.3%, or $381,000 approximately for fiscal year 2022. Now, that's at the government-wide full accrual basis. Simplifying it down a little bit further in terms of what you're more accustomed to seeing via your treasurer's reports on a monthly basis, the general fund had a surplus this year of about $549,000, or an increase of 21.3%, which is fantastic. I'm not going to cover it here this evening, but I did want to point out that page 41 of your audit will give you it'll give you a budgetary schedule where you can go line item by line item to see how certain things performed in relation to budget. Now, the last piece of required communication is oftentimes board's least favorite part of my communication, but I can assure you this is what we call our management letter. This is a very clean management letter. I can't stress that enough for a first-year audit. Our goal as your new audit firm is to come in and provide value, and value can take a lot of different shapes and sizes. So I wanted to point out we've issued 3 management letter recommendations within this document. The first of which is actually just for transparency purposes. There's nothing the library could have done to prevent this comment. This is what we call GASB 96. GASB 96 is going to be in effect for June 30th, 2023, so next fiscal year. And the only reason that it's included in your management letter is to give you a little bit of a heads up that this GASB standard is coming down the pipeline. We will handle all application of GASB 96, which is going to change the way in which IT subscriptions are reported. So as a library, I'm sure you're familiar with all the databases that you participate in and some of those IT arrangements. We'll be obtaining a list of all of those and going through and making the necessary journal entries. Now, comments number 2 and 3 pertain to best practices policies that GASB recommends having in writing. And I did want to point out we've already provided sample templates of these 2 respective policies to the staff, so we look forward to helping them through the implementation of those policies. That would be for capital asset reporting and for fund balance reporting. Those are, again, 2 that we see commonly applied across some of our library clients, and we're happy to work with you on specifics. We've got so many different templates out there from a lot of the other libraries that we work with as well. So both of which take a little bit of tailoring to the uniquenesses of your specific organization. So I can't stress enough, we're happy to help with that. And with that, that concludes my brief coverage of the audit here tonight. Happy to field any questions that you may have. I know that was a lot of information, so.
Thanks, Matt. This is very clear, very helpful. And so when you're suggesting that certain templates be followed, and then this is maybe more, so then does that change how, just so we have our own software that we're putting in our financial information? So would be making changes to how we're doing things for a best practice. So this is maybe similar between Matt and library staff is saying, so how, what's the suggested pathway to the best
Sure,
practice?
yeah. Like anything, policies are only as good as they are if they're in writing, right? That's really kind of what we're getting at. You've already got foundational capital asset and fund balance practices that are theoretically being applied already. It's more of just getting them in writing. There's some GASB-specific verbiage that they recommend being in these policies. A lot of it is cookie cutter, whereas a small portion of each of the policies would be, library specific. So for capital asset reporting, you may have used a $5,000 capital threshold in the past or a $10,000 capital threshold in the past. All these policies are doing is taking what's been applied in the past and putting it into writing. So from an accounting standpoint, nothing will change through the implementation of these policies. The library staff has treated capital assets correctly. They've, fund balance policy is a little unique because really the library only has the two funds, your general and trust funds, whereas some other libraries have special levies for each of their respective special levies. Ultimately, they have separate funds for those. So yours is going to be pretty easy. I think all we need to do is then establish a fund balance target of what you intend to have in reserves and what you're going to do with those reserves once it hits that target.
Okay, no, thanks, that's helpful.
Yep, no problem.
So in other words, you're just saying they have to do a gas, or we have to do a GASB update, sort of?
Yes and no. When I think GASB update, it's actually taking a standard and applying it to your financial statements.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these two policies that we're recommending will in no way, shape, or form impact your audit, if that makes sense. It's just more of a best practices. And had it impacted your audit, or had we deemed these, unsatisfactory in terms of how could the library have not applied these in the past, then it would have been disclosed in the audit opinion or, having that conversation with you as management. So it's not that severe. As I mentioned, you have the cleanest form of opinion that any government can receive. It's more of just kind of a value-added policy that we suggest implementing.
Okay.
Great, thanks. Anyone else, any questions for anyone else, comments? Okay, well, appreciate the time spent. Thank you very much, Ron.
Yeah, of course. Thanks again to the team. Really appreciate it. Look forward to continuing our relationship. So
Great.
take care, everybody.
All right,
Thank you.
You too.
bye.
May I just say real quickly?
Sure.
I don't think I have ever heard an auditor so strongly commend organizational staff, so kudos and great job.
And I was thinking, saying, boy, for a first-time audit,
Yeah.
that's really impressive. So, really, because usually audits are something you kind of go, it's,
I wasn't worried at all.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. So, actually, definitely good job. Okay. All right, so moving on to item 7.0, the consent agenda. So first, I'd like to ask, does anyone have a request to remove anything from the consent agenda? And then my next question is, does anyone have any corrections to the minutes? All right, well, with that, I will be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda, and I will go and read through all the items we are approving. First, the board meeting minutes of December 13th, 2022, the payroll for December 16th, 2022, for a total of $113,055.63. Payroll for December 30th, 2022, total of $102,091.88. The bills for December 16th, 2022, the total of $24,150. All right, it's this evening. Let's try this again. $24,159.04. Bills for December 21st, 2022, for a total of $16,733.89. Bills for January 3rd, 2023, total of $4,368.24. And finally, the bills for January 5th, 2023, for a total of $38,174.89. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries for the consent agenda. Moving on to the individual action items. So last time we had a little review of the technology plan. Today, we are going to vote on approving the technology plan for 2023. Do I hear a motion to approve that? Okay, James, and the second?
Second.
All right, any comments? And motion carries there.
Wait, gotta vote.
I'm sorry?
You gotta vote.
Oh, right, thank you. Keep me honest. All right, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, we have a technology plan confirmed for 2023. All right, next, 8.2, that's looking to accept the TUFL annual finance report for FY 2022 that we did last year. And so do I hear a motion to approve the annual financial report?
I move to approve the annual financial report for FY '22.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Okay. And now, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And then finally, less than last month, which I can't quite figure because maybe those really freezing days just said, oh, it's going to be bad this month. The Amarin invoice, since it's over $10,000, we vote on it. So just going over invoice for $10,116.59. Do I have a motion to approve paying this invoice? Okay, a second? Okay, Dan seconds it. All right, and let's vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you for all those action item votes. And now I am thrilled that for our first board person presentation, and Daniel is going to be our guinea pig for this. He's going to tell us all about IHLS Member Day.
I did. Okay. Do you want me to turn one of the lights off to make it darker in the very front?
Yeah.
It's okay?
Yeah.
Good.
So welcome to your first board education day. This, I'm sure, will be a bit different than future ones in that it's kind of a hodgepodge of things from the IHLS member day. So there were a lot of presentations and I couldn't even get to all of them because there were some overlapping. So it's what I got to, what stuck out as interest to me. I know future iterations of this, it'll probably be one topic, somebody going in a little bit deeper, but these were the topics covered, what I was able to get to: banned books, patron needs, outreach coordinators, codes, strategic plans, and then some trustee-specific training there at the end. So I'll just run through a little bit of each of these. Once again, this is things that stuck out to me. It might not be relevant to everybody. Take it or leave it as it comes to you. But everything is kind of, I'm relatively new to this, so everything is shiny and new to me, and I'm like, these were like, ooh, that's an interesting point. I'll mention that. The keynote talk on this was by Kristen Peckel, who was the author of Beyond Banned Books. Sure, everyone notices there's this rise in people trying to challenge books in libraries and other public institutions. One of the key points here is pointing out the ALA's Library Bill of Rights, and specifically point number 3 there, where libraries should be challenging this type of censorship. And understanding a little more about what those attempted challenges are and how they've been increasing. So just a couple of numbers there, those 780 plus and 1800 plus for 2022. Those just have plus and aren't total numbers because this is from early November. So even at that time, those numbers are already breaking 2021's records, which broke 2020's records, so on and so forth. So those numbers are climbing, and that is a bit disheartening. But one uplifting takeaway from this, I really liked this figure, a bunch of little nuggets from Unite Against Book Bans. You don't need to see all the little words, just the big numbers there. They're all higher numbers. These are the show of people that are in support of intellectual freedom and having that type of censorship challenged. So the vast, I know it's a minority of people, it's a very vocal minority, but know that the vast majority of people are actually in favor of having books and information out there. Somebody from Caseyville Library talked about meeting patron needs, and these were some of the interesting points to me. Once again, some of this is not necessarily advocating for everything, but just interesting things that I thought they were doing. One is they allow food, drink, sleeping, and pets throughout their entire library, which was a novel concept to me. I'd never heard of that before. They, through a combination of partnerships and grants, they're able to provide for those that need it, school supplies, diapers, hygiene kits, menstrual products, which I thought was an amazing opportunity they have to be able to just provide that to the public for those that are in need. So that would be a really cool thing. I know I haven't looked at our topics guides upstairs in a while. I know we used to have several different ones. One of the ones that they have there, though, is a tough topics guide for people that are a little more hesitant about coming across something that might be more touchy subject, abortion, drugs, divorce, what have you. And just to be able to grab that and know right where to go for some good information on it without having to confront somebody one-on-one. One of the other cool things that is they allow both time and space for a social worker in there every week to be able to meet with patrons or whoever else needs to be able to stop by there. And I know, like I said, if you're interested in adopting any of that, it's not just us, it's not just staff, patrons, local reps, there's a lot of people that would have input into that, but it's just some cool ideas that other libraries are doing. This one was more for my own personal curiosity, be quite honest on it. Lincoln Library was talking about their full-time outreach coordinator. That is a fully grant-funded position for them. They run all their external events, approximately 90 per year, and it just got me thinking, I know that we're in the process of our own ARPA grant, trying to get somebody for that, but I honestly have no idea of how that's been done in the past, who runs our events. Is it one person, is it multiple people, is it a specific position? Are they doing it on top of whatever else is going on? So I'd just be curious myself to learn more about that. And hopefully we get that grant position. That would be great. The Career Online High School, this is available through Rails. Basically, I think it was more of just a pitch to advocate, like people to help direct others in that to this resource right there. One of the really cool things about it is for people that are going back, you're not getting a GED, you're getting an actual high school diploma. I think if somebody needs to go through the entire program, it's only 18 months, and they do have scholarships available for people to do that. So a very cool thing to be able to help people with. Strategic plans. This is the main reason why I went to that, because I wanted to see this presentation. I will be honest, I mean, they did a fine job. I was just a little underwhelmed that like there was no like great magic thing like, you should do this, it's definitely gonna help your plan. It was kind of the information that you would expect, I think, from it. A lot of, standards. Your plan is to establish direction, create a clear path, simplify, etc. All of this. Very importantly, highlighting getting feedback from staff, which I can't imagine trying to do anything without that move right there. The one beneficial thing that I did like about it is in evaluating the framework, talking about it really helps to have like this if-then thing. So like, if this occurs, then we know our plan was successful, or that we need to do more to change something there. Kind of having that, some of these ideas in stone beforehand. They talked a bit about reporting, questions of how often, what do you include on there, and I don't know about others, but I will just say that it made me think of our own reporting, how every month in the packets we have that information in there. I really like the way that's set up currently, how we break down everything that happened within that last month and what exact part of your strategic plan that fell under. So the new IHLS website, I did say coming soon, but no longer coming soon, is already here. As Dawn mentioned last month, that website is up and running. one of the really cool things there for us as a board is they have members-only databases for things like library laws and policies, and a grants database in there. They've also done a great job of revamping their events page so you can actually filter through it. It's a little more useful now. Jobs board on there and their store, which I'm not getting commissions or kickbacks, but these are two of the cool images that they had on there. And you can basically put those on any type of clothing or swag. And
I like the just one more page.
exactly. I was like, I'm probably going to end up with a shirt with that on it.
Yeah, I like that. That's how I read Color Purple one. Just one more page. Because it was 4 in the morning.
And then lastly, this was, I think, one of the most interesting things to come out of it is library trustee training, because that's exactly what we're starting to do now, is they have received a grant to put together a board education program all about what trustees need to know in order to be able to do their job better. It's in the creation phase right now, but hopefully late spring, early summer, they will have that up and running. So I'll keep checking back on that, and we'll let anybody know if that comes up. So those were the highlights. I know, like I said, it was going to be a quick run through, but those were things that popped up that were of interest to me. If there is somebody that's interested in taking the lead on whether it be, you know, diving deeper into one of those topics or something on the LA future trends or anywhere else that you just happen to pull inspiration from, if there's somebody that wants to do that for next month and wants to jump up and down and say yes right now. If not, I'll be expecting an email in the next week as I try to coordinate.
I can help you a little bit. Lupe volunteered for next month.
Oh, well, one down. Y'all can start thinking about March then. All right, thanks.
I can answer your questions about the outreach person
Oh,
and
yeah.
how we do that here if that's helpful.
Yeah.
So we have a woman named Lauren Chambers who is our programming and outreach manager. She's in the community engagement department, and she oversees programming across the different library departments. And she does not do all the programs. She makes sure that the programs happen. We have different staff in the departments, whether it's circulation staff doing outreach or archive staff doing programs in partnership with other places. A lot of people in Rachel's department, adult and youth services, the story times, adult programs, outreach, coordination. So Lauren coordinates all of that. And the ARPA position that we're looking to fund is a person who would be at least bilingual, English and either Spanish, French, or I wanted to say German, no, Chinese, who would focus on people who are underserved and most impacted by COVID. So we would go to the communities and do programs in the communities, as well as doing outreach there, and then also letting people know which programs are here available to them at the library. So we're looking for a programming staff person who would program, I think we said 3 to 4 programs a week. Because we have invitations to participate in different community events, or go to churches, go to the dentist's offices, go to laundromats and other places. We just don't have enough staff to do that. And then people are torn between ordering books and DVDs and videos and being on the reference desk and being being a programming person. So.
And
So-
is, sorry, I was just gonna, is that something, Lauren, you said?
So yeah, Lauren would supervise this person.
And as of right now, is that in addition to like what she's already doing, or is like she's focusing on that?
So 100% of her time, she manages programming and outreach for the library. So when someone
Okay.
says,
So-
come to the laundromat, Lauren says who is available to go and
Right.
sets it up. Or works with the schools, or works with the churches.
But that's what I wasn't
Yeah.
sure about, because it sounds like that is, in a lot of other places, that's like, somebody's doing that on top of juggling 5 other jobs.
Mhm. We're fortunate to have been able to manage the resources that we have to be able to get a position so a person does that.
Was it Lauren?
Rachel used to manage it.
Yeah, was it Lauren that me and Mark talked to that was in the meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That was Lauren, okay. Yeah. But, go ahead.
Just to say, one thing I wanted, looking for that, I think this library is very fortunate that during our last strategic planning session, we had Amanda help, and it was one of the least painful strategic planning sessions I think I have ever gone through. You know, it took time, but it was, it was a very satisfying process. And having someone skilled and understanding, the tips and tricks for doing strategic planning to get the input from the board, from the staff, from the community. I felt like we were very fortunate to have that groundwork laid, and now as we're looking forward to doing an update, I don't dread it. So,
I don't think it'll be as much work as it was when we,
because we laid the groundwork
Yeah,
very nicely.
because, this is, I read this, even if I don't get to read anything else. I've been having to do so much reading lately, so, but, this is always, this is a guide, and I like the way that it is set up according to our strategic plan, so that we always know that we're keeping up and we're keeping with and doing things according, even with the strategic plan. So I don't see that it'll be a huge effort to update anything that we might need to update. The effort will be, of course, as it has been with other libraries and municipalities, money. Because there are things that we can't do everything. We can't be everything for everybody, and that's the hard part. That's the reality of what it is, but that's a hard thing to also, understand.
What I think came out of the last strategic plan, there were those labels that we put on everything, but I don't really think that makes any difference. But there were really two actual ideas. One was that we need to focus more on youth, this is Urbana's, and the other was multilingual, multicultural, multilingual stuff, because the demographics have changed in town. Those were, I think, the two actual things that came out of it, other than advertising labels. And I think it's good that as we talk about rearranging things upstairs, that it does sound like it's focused on the number one priority, which is something more for youth. I hope. So.
Well, some of the work is going to happen down here in the youth area too. Rachel has a
Well,
couple of
wherever,
Yeah.
the general rearrangement of stuff is focusing on youth, so that actually fits the substance of the strategic plan.
Yeah, two good architectural projects happening. Well, one is shelving that Rachel's got working on with a grant that we got last year to make picture books more available to people, and then looking at Megan's room so that the space can be used more effectively for people wanting to play in it, for people that need to manage the cleanliness of it, and then for people who want to use it for programs. So that's going to be really great. And thank you to Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
And Mike. It's a lot of fun.
Well, so I'd like to thank Daniel for stepping out first and showing us how it's done. And so, Celeste will take next round, but then, maybe next month that we can figure out who wants to do something for March, whether taking up on some of your suggestions or anyone has some other burning issue they'd like to present. But thank you. That was very welcome. Okay, moving down to 10.0. Is the report from the Friends? Yes.
I can report for Barb for the Friends. They are currently updating their fiscal year, which had been not matched with ours, so that it matches with ours, which makes statistics and reporting easier for them, as well as anything Becky needs to help pull for them from our financial system. So they're actively in the sending in forms process right now.
Well, that makes sense. That's great. In the alignment. Okay, and then 10.2, did the foundation meet this last month?
Yes, we did, and I have some updates, thanks to Kirsten. The foundation has raised almost $48,000 as of December 14th, with nearly $5,000 of that total being designated toward the circulation area improvement project, which is fantastic. The foundation's application to the Samuel Friedman Charitable Trust was approved, and a check for $15,000 has been received. These funds will aid in outreach efforts as part of the Margaret Crampton Urbana Free Library Fund. If you received the News Gazette, you may have seen the library in the special giving section last month, and so that was a nice feature. The foundation board will also be meeting with Karen Walker next Wednesday to learn more about different investment options in our investment portfolio, so building some of our foundational knowledge of the basics, understanding the mechanics, and figuring out how we can better support.
Excellent. So you're doing your own training as well. Nice. No, thanks, Lori. Great. Okay, and then, well, this is a report for the Illinois Heartland Library System.
I didn't really see anything on their website. It seems like maybe they slowed things down a little bit for December. They're still asking for members to participate in the working group that's going to investigate that materials handling system. But yeah, other than that, in the new website, I didn't see anything earth-shattering.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I actually have not gone to the new website yet. I keep meaning to.
It's nice. It's
Nice. Yeah, okay. That's, okay, look forward to seeing that. Thanks. Okay, Celeste, anything you want to highlight it from the administrative support?
We have done, and I have one more thing, which is
Okay.
we are actively working with the chosen architectural firm, and they've sent us a set of documents to evaluate. So we are in the thick of it.
Okay. And I hope you had very nice relaxation over the break so that you have all the energy to get into the thick of it, because it requires that energy. Okay, well, that's great. That's good to know. Okay, and then next is I'm going to talk a little bit about the process for the executive directive evaluation. So, by our bylaws, we as the board are to evaluate Celeste on an annual basis. And so some of you have been through this a number of times, some of you haven't. So what happens is this week, Celeste is going to send me her self-evaluation, which then I am going to send that to your library emails along with the board evaluation form. And I have instructions on this, and it is a number of questions in different areas for you to do an evaluation of Celeste. And then there's an area on the form for you to make comments if you so choose. So it's a Word document. What I ask is you can choose the evaluation areas, which are like, don't know, there's different scales, and it's up to you what you're most comfortable with, or you could either underline things, highlight things, or whatever, circle things, depending on what your computer system at home is. And then when you complete them, you will send them back to me. I will then create a summary, anonymizing all the comments. And then when we meet in February, we will have a closed session to go over the summary and to then, we'll then meet with Celeste and discuss the evaluations. In parallel, I provide an evaluation form for the department heads. I send that form to Becky. Becky distributes that to the department heads, and then they will send them back to her. Becky collects them and sends them also back to me, which again, I also summarize and anonymize, and then these are made available for us to see at that February closed session meeting. So that's the process. What would be convenient, and I think Celeste will probably be able to send your evaluation out on, today's Wednesday, so Thursday. And this is not a real time-consuming evaluation to fill out as far as the numbered items and department heads as well. It would be ideal if they could be back by January 31st. And if that's too soon, if you want to go, I need time to do the collation and to be able to do the summary so that I'm ready for the board meeting. And so I'm just asking out here, because usually do this a little bit earlier. Is that a hardship if I say, if you got this evaluation form, say this Thursday, which is going to be January 12th, is January 31st a reasonable time for you to turn it around? Because you've all done these before. Is there a problem? Anyone see a problem with that? Okay.
I guess I get a weekend or so that I can do
Yeah,
that.
there should be like at least 2 weekends in there. So that would be good. Okay, well, thank you. So that's the process. It's great. It's pretty straightforward. And I have no stand-in board president report today. So moving down, do we have any unfinished business? Do we have any new business? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I moved to adjourn.
All in
sorry, did
favor?
I say that with like?
Let's hear it.
All in favor of adjourning the meeting? Okay, no, thanks, everybody.
I get a second?
Oh, yeah,
Second.
second, yeah, thank you, Laura. I thought I heard one, but yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. Great. All right, thanks a lot.
All right.
Thanks, Jane.